Good afternoon. Welcome to section 3.3, rounding decimals. Go ahead and press pause and write down the information. You'll notice the one at the bottom got a little cut off, but I'll move it up in just a minute. So today we're going to be rounding decimals, and these rules might seem a little excessive to you, but if you actually follow them very strictly, it's going to make the process a lot easier and you're going to make a lot less mistakes. So to round a decimal, the first thing I would like you to do is to underline the digit to be rounded. So on the side, I'm going to make up a little example for you. 2 and 6,198 ten-thousandths. And if I wanted you to round it to the hundredths place, the first thing I would do was to underline the digit to be rounded. So you need to find the hundredths spot. So if you remember, this is the tenths, this is the hundredths. So I'm going to go ahead and underline that. Okay. Second step, then look at the digit to the right of the place value being rounded. So to the right, I have a 9. Okay. And when you look to the right, I'm going to keep these two things in mind. If the digit is 4 or less, the underlying digit remains the same. If the digit is 5 or larger, you're going to add 1 to the underlying digit. Okay, so that's how we need to underline. So I'm looking at it and it's a 9, so that would follow or fall under these rules right here. Digit is 5 or larger, I'm going to add 1 to the underlying digit. So I'm going to make this 1 become 1 plus 1 is 2.62, and then this last part is actually very important. And this is what people usually get messed up on. After rounding, drop all digits after the underlined digit. So I'm not going to bring down the 9 and the 8. Okay, I'm dropping them. I don't need them anymore. I'm rounding up. When you round, you're making the number smaller. Okay, so when you get done, there should be less digits behind the decimal. So I'm making the number smaller, so I drop that 9 and that 8. I've applied the 9 and used the 9 to round up in this case. Okay, and that's all I need to do. So my answer would be 2 and 62 hundredths. Another clue is when you read it out loud, it should end in the place value you're rounding to. So 2 and 62 hundredths is my answer. Okay, don't forget that I just scrolled this one up. Make sure you write that one down before you continue. So we're going to round each decimal to the indicated place value position. So once again, I'm going to follow those rules from before. So I have 21 and 638 thousandths, and I'm going to round to the tenth spot. Now, if you remember, the tenth spot is immediately after the decimal point. So I'm going to underline my digit. The second step, if you recall, it says look at the digit to the right of the place value being rounded. If the digit is 4 or less, the underlying digit remains the same. If the digit is 5 or larger, add 1 to the underlying digit. So I'm going to look to the right, and it's a 3. This number is 4 or less, so my 6 will remain the same. So I'm going to write 21 and 6. And then don't forget, now I drop these numbers. I do not include them in my answer. Okay? And I'm going to read it out loud. 21 and 6 tenths. I did indeed end in the place value that I wanted to round to. And so I know that 21 and 6 tenths is the correct answer. For my next number, I'm rounding to the hundred spot. Okay, notice there's no THS on the end, so that's not behind the decimal point. And my number is 5,369. The hundredth spot should be easy to find. I have the ones, the tens, and the hundreds. And just because it's in front of the decimal does not change your rules. Okay, so I'm going to look back at the 6. And since it's 5 or above, I will add 1 to my underlined digit. So this is going to be 5, 4. Now before, if you remember, I'm going to come back here. Drop all digits after the underlined digit. Well, in this case, that doesn't make sense. Okay, and the reason it doesn't make sense is that I'd be rounding 5,369 to 54. Okay, so what do you think I do with these underlined digits when I'm rounding to the hundredth spot? I'm going to change them to zeros. Okay, and this, I only worry about changing them to zeros when it's in front of the decimal. Okay, so I'm going to write on the side, change the numbers behind the rounded number to zero only if the number I'm rounding to is in front of the decimal. Otherwise, I just drop it. Okay, so this is in front of the decimal, so I need to change those to zeros. And it should make sense. My number's not going to change drastically, it's just going to change a little bit. Excuse me, so I have 5,369, and I'm rounding it to 5,400. Once again, changing it to 54 would not make sense. It would change the number too much, and I don't want to change the number too much when I'm rounding. And for our last one, I have 9 and 599 thousandths. And I'm rounding to the hundredths spot. Okay, so here's my hundredths spot. Underline my 9, and I'm going to look back to my 9 here. Now, because it's 5 and above, I'm going to round up. And it means I need to add 1 to the 9. Now, the problem with adding 1 to the 9 is 9 plus 1 is 10. Okay, and I don't want to make it look like this because that doesn't make sense. It's actually making the number smaller, and I need to round up. Okay, so what I'm technically doing here is I'm changing the 9 to a 10, yes, but then I have to add 1 to this. Okay, it's just like when you're adding decimals. So if I'm adding 10 to 9, okay, I'm adding 10 here, I'm going to change this to the 1 because I'm adding it up, bringing it up, and I'm going to add 1 to the 5. So it's going to become 9 and 6, and I'm going to add a 0 at the end, so it's still the hundredth spot. 9 and 60 hundredths. And you'll notice it was 9.599 before, so I'm boosting it up, okay, to a 6. It's not changing too much, it's just changing a small amount. And it's gotten bigger. So when I have 9.50, it's really gotten smaller. I did not round up. I actually rounded down quite a bit, okay? So when you have to change your 9 to a 10, you are going to then apply that 1, okay, to the 5. But don't forget that 9 should become a 0 because it's part of the 10, okay? So my answer is 9 and 60 hundredths. As always, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask them during class. That's the whole point, is we want to make sure that you're being a constructive learner. Okay, so if you have questions, make sure you ask in class. Hopefully this helped you out today. Once again, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.